Well, unfortunately, we are inching closer and closer to war with Iran. Donald Trump did mention that he spoke to Vladimir Putin, and this is what he said. I finished speaking by telephone with President Vladimir Putin of Russia. The call lasted approximately 1 hour and 15 minutes. We discussed the attack on Russia's docked airplanes by Ukraine and also various other attacks that have been taking place by both sides. It was a good conversation, but not a conversation that will lead to immediate peace. President Putin did say, and very strongly, that he will have to respond to the recent attacks on the airfields. So obviously, we're ramping up war there. It's not actually calming down. He then goes on to say, Trump goes on to say, we also discussed Iran and the fact that time is running out on Iran's decision pertaining to nuclear weapons, which must be made quickly. I stated to President Putin that Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon, and on this, I believe that we are in agreement. President Putin suggested that he will participate in the discussions with Iran and that he could perhaps be helpful in getting this brought to a rapid conclusion. It is my opinion that Iran has been slow walking their decision on this very important matter, and we will need a definitive answer in a very short period of time. The problem is what the United States is asking of Iran, which is to enrich zero uranium, which they know that Iran is not going to do, that Iran wants nuclear power. And so Iran is not going to Iran's just not going to do what the United States is demanding, and the U.S. knows this. The question is, who's around Donald Trump who's getting him to demand these things from Iran that we know Iran is not going to do? And so it's just a losing bargaining chip when you're asking someone to, let's say, give up their firstborn child. They're not going to do it. You know they're not going to do it. And you say, give up your firstborn child or else we're going to war. Well, then I guess you're going to war. And that's kind of what's happening right now with Iran. Rather than calming things down, things are actually ramping up. Tucker Carlson tweeted this out saying that Mark Levin, do you know who Mark Levin is? So he is a commentator who I believe has a show on Fox News. But Mark Levin, was he also at one point with Ben Shapiro and Friends? I think he might have been, or he might still be, or he might have been at one point. But this is what Tucker had to say about Mark Levin. He says, Mark Levin was at the White House today lobbying for war with Iran. To be clear, Levin has no plans to fight in this or any other war. He's demanding that American troops do it. We need to stop Iran from building nuclear weapons. He and like-minded ideologues in Washington are now arguing, right? That's what they keep saying. They've been saying this forever and ever, and this is what Tucker's saying, that they're arguing, we have to stop Iran from making a nuclear weapon. We've been hearing this forever. And what do they say? They say they're just weeks away, Tucker says. If this sounds familiar, it's because the same people have been making the same claim since at least the 1990s. It's a lie. In fact, there is zero credible intelligence that suggests Iran is anywhere near building a bomb or has plans to. None. Anyone who claims otherwise is ignorant or dishonest. If the U.S. government knew Iran was weeks from possessing a nuclear weapon, we'd be at war already. Iran knows this, which is why they aren't building one. Iran also knows it's unwise to give up its weapons program entirely. Muammar Gaddafi tried that and wound up sodomized with a bayonet. As soon as Gaddafi disarmed, NATO killed him. Iran's leaders saw that happen. They learned the obvious lesson. So why is Mark Levin once again hyperventilating about weapons of mass destruction? To distract you from the real goal, which is regime change. Young Americans heading back to the Middle East to topple yet another government. Virtually no one will say this out loud. America's record of overthrowing foreign leaders is so embarrassingly counterproductive that regime change has become a synonym for disaster. Officially, no one supports it. So instead of telling the truth about their motives, they manufacture hysteria. Quote, a country like Iran can never have the bomb. They'll nuke Los Angeles. We have to act now. They don't really mean this, and you can tell they don't by what they omit. At least two of Iran's neighbors, both Islamic nations, already have nuclear weapons. That fact should scare the hell out of Mark Levin, yet for some reason he never mentions it. How come? Because it's not the weapons he hates, it's the ideology of the Iranian government, which is why he's lobbying to overthrow it. It goes without saying that there are very few Trump voters who'd support a regime change war in Iran. Donald Trump has argued loudly against reckless lunacy like this. Trump ran for president as a peace candidate. That's what made him different from conventional Republicans. It's why he won. A war with Iran would amount to a profound betrayal of his supporters. It would end his presidency. That may explain why so many of Trump's enemies are advocating for it. And then there's the question of war itself. Iran might not have nukes, but it has a fearsome arsenal of ballistic missiles, many of which are aimed at U.S. military installations in the Gulf, as well as at our allies and at critical energy infrastructure. The first week of war with Iran could easily kill thousands of Americans. It could also collapse our economy as surging oil prices trigger unmanageable inflation. Consider the effects of $30 gasoline. But the second week of war could be even worse. Iran isn't Iraq or Libya or even North Korea. While it's often described as a rogue state, Iran has powerful allies. It's now part of a global bloc called BRICS, which represents the majority of the world's landmass, population, economy, and military power. Iran has extensive military ties with Russia. It sells the overwhelming majority of its oil exports to China. Iran isn't alone. An attack on Iran could very easily become a world war. We'd lose. None of these are far-fetched predictions. Most of them comport with the Pentagon's own estimates. Many Americans would die during a war with Iran. People like Mark Levin don't seem to care about this. It's not relevant to them. Instead, they insist that Iran give up all uranium enrichment regardless of its purpose. They know perfectly well that Iran will never accept that demand. They'll fight first, and of course, that's the whole point of pushing for it, to box the Trump administration into a regime change war in Iran. The one thing that people like Mark Levin don't want is a peaceful solution to the problem of Iran, despite the obvious benefits to the United States. They denounce anyone who advocates for a deal as a traitor and a bigot. They tell us with a straight face that Long Island native Steve Witkoff is a secret tool of Islamic monarchies. They'll say or do whatever it takes. They have no limits. These are scary people. Pray that Donald Trump ignores them. My only criticism of Tucker Carlson's rant that he did on Twitter, and this is just a partial of it, it's very long, as you just heard. My only problem with this is he doesn't say why Mark Levin is advocating for war with Iran. There is Mark Levin with an American flag behind him. That's just a ploy. That's just a prop, I should say. That American flag is just a prop. Why is Mark Levin advocating for war with Iran? If there is no benefit to Americans in a war with Iran, then why are guys like Mark Levin, who pretend to be all about America and do shows for America, why are they advocating for war with Iran? And we all know the answer to that, because he's not America first, he's Israel first. But Tucker doesn't want to say that. But that's actually what's implied. I mean, that's the reason. Otherwise, why would we go to war with Iran? We're only going to Iran because the Israelis want it. So guys like Mark Levin, traitors to the country, in my opinion. People should be called out for this. We should not be having these people indoctrinating our citizenship by pretending. I mean, just they could say what they want. And our citizens can listen to whatever they want to listen to. But it's got to be under the pretense of honesty and truth, right? I mean, he shouldn't have an American flag behind him. He should have an Israeli flag behind him. And that's just the reality of the situation. And then that would be, same with Ben Shapiro. Just be honest about who you actually stand for and which country you're advocating for. And then we could all make a decision on whether or not we agree with you. My guess is, we wouldn't. And that's why you don't. So Tucker's right. There's a lot of people around Donald Trump right now that are boxing him in. They're saying no enrichment. Iran's not going to do it. And they know this, and they're trying to get us into war with Iran. And then you've got other guys, by the way. The other thing that I want to mention also about Tucker's rant on Twitter is that, what is it, which is what the point that he's bringing up, which is all of these people are saying Iran can't have a nuclear bomb. No, it would just be the end of the world if Iran had a nuclear bomb. Somebody explain why that is. What would be so bad if Iran had a bomb? Now, before you freak out on me, just think about this for a second. Our supposed greatest adversaries have nukes. China, Russia. If we were going to be nuked, they would have already done it. But we're not. We haven't been nuked. In fact, we're the only country who's actually dropped a nuke. So we're the only real ones for the world to worry about. Our greatest enemies, supposed enemies, have not nuked us. So what is it about Iran having a nuke that's any different than Pakistan having a nuke or India having a nuke or any of these other nations? What is it? North Korea has nukes. They told us that same thing. They said the world will end if North Korea gets nukes. They said that to us for a decade. And then guess what? North Korea got a nuke. And then guess what? Nothing happened. So same thing with Afghanistan. Well, we can't withdraw from Afghanistan. there would be just horrible consequences for Americans. Really, what? Because we withdrew from Afghanistan and nobody noticed. No one noticed. It didn't change a single American's life. So what is it exactly about Iran having a nuke that is so threatening to the United States? The fact is, it's not threatening to the United States. It's threatening to Israel. That sounds like an Israel problem. Doesn't sound like an American problem. But guys like Mark Levin, who are Israel first, make it our problem. And now they've got the ear of the president, and that is our problem. That is a huge problem for the American people. That people who are advocating for a foreign Middle Eastern country have the president's ear and are getting us closer and closer and closer to a war with Iran. But it's not just guys like Mark Levin. It's also this character, John Fetterman. Where did this guy come from? And how is he still in office as a senator? John Fetterman decided to tweet this out. He says, Iran has nearly 1,000 pounds of enriched uranium. Negotiations will not work. The solution comes in 30,000 pounds of pop. So he is advocating for war with Iran. Senator John Fetterman, who is embarrassingly Israel first, according to leaked information about his wife and her feelings. He's embarrassingly Israel first. We've seen him be Israel first this entire time. And now he's calling for war with Iran. We're getting not that Trump is listening to Fetterman, but I just wanted to show you how crazy this guy is. But we are certainly getting closer when the war hawks are surrounding Trump and they're giving him negotiation points that are not actual real negotiation points. And at this point, Trump has only really, I think, lived up to one of his big promises, which is the border crisis. And he's done a great job with that. The border crisis is practically it's not a crisis at this point. So great on that. But he has not been able to end the war in Russia. Said he would do that in the first day of office. That has not been able to happen because turns out Russia's its own country with its own president named Vladimir Putin. Same thing with Ukraine. It turns out Zelensky has his own mind, turns out, at the end. He also claimed that he would end the deficit. That's obviously not happening. We're adding to the deficit. He said that we'd get the Epstein files. We didn't get those. We're going to get to that here in just a minute, here later on in the show. We're not getting the Epstein files. So what makes us think we're not going to end up in another Middle Eastern conflict? I mean, there's a real possibility that this happens, especially with the people who are surrounding Donald Trump. And these people still have a lot of power inside of the Republican Party. And they're wanting war with Iran. And they might get it. And they might, I wouldn't be surprised if we saw a false flag. That would be the last straw, right? If you cannot convince the American public and the politicians into war, what is your next step? False flag event. So eyes open, guys, eyes wide open on that one. I wouldn't put it past them. They are desperate enough to go to war with Iran. I would absolutely not put it past them to stage a false flag event. I'm just saying it like it is. Thank you for watching this clip from the full Kim Iverson Show, which you can catch Monday through Friday, 2 p.m. Pacific, 5 p.m. Eastern. We do live stream it every day. It's a 1-hour show. You can catch it. It is totally free. Just go to KimIversonShow.com. See you there.